Hi guys, welcome back. It's Alyssa. I've got some books to go over. I'm really excited to share them with you. I don't know what this intro is. In case you missed it, August was Women in Translation Month, and I have been reading books by various women, female authors that have been translated into English, and I wanted to share the 9 books that I read in August for Women in Translation. So let's jump into this little library haul / a few Libby books that I listened to during the month. So the first book that I read was Norma by Sophie Oksena. I don't know how to say it. The cover is beautiful. It is translated from Finnish, and it is weird, but also kind of really awesome. So the premise of the book is that there's this woman, Norma, who has this hair that like never stops growing. It's kind of like a Rapunzel like story, and this hair it's got like special properties. It can sense things. It is like the best hair to make wigs and stuff out of, and extensions. But it's very rare. Like it's a very rare thing to have, and it's something that's sort of persecuted against, like because humans would think there's something wrong with you for having this. Anyway, as much as they desire your hair. So Norma's mother dies under mysterious circumstances, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her mom. So you have this like weird magical realism fantasy element. You have a mystery element to it. There's also like a seedy underbelly with sort of like human trafficking and stuff going on. There's this weird element like that happening too. There's a lot of dark going on here, and it was very interesting. I'm like, this one I truly enjoyed. I would recommend it if you like weird books. I'm gonna say it is weird. If you don't like weird books, don't read it. But if you are like me and you love a good weird story, this was great. Also, if you hear like a tss in the background, it's just my little moon / boob diffuser. Someone told me it looks like a boob, and I guess it kind of does look like a boob because like areola. I will just tell you that if your boob's this lumpy, go to your doctor. Your skin shouldn't look like this on your boobs. We're here for books and for breast health. I also read Han Kang, who wrote The Vegetarian, which is possibly one of the weirdest books. I would say it was one of the weirdest books I ever read, but there's now one in here that's so weird that I'm uncomfortable. It made me really uncomfortable, but I started down this little rabbit hole of Han Kang. I got The Vegetarian as an audiobook, and then I saw that I also could get The White Book and Human Acts, which are 2 of her other books. The Vegetarian essentially follows 2 sisters that are married, and it is and one sister sort of goes into a depressive spiral and just sort of stops eating. It's a look at sexuality, at marriage, at mental health, at all kinds of just very deeply human and personal emotional things. And it was a hard read in the sense that it really makes you feel things. By the way, Han Kang is Korean, and obviously it's translated from Korean. But it's this very, her writing is very like atmospheric and nightmarish in here, and especially when you go to the wife's point of view, when she's telling you about her dreams and like her mental state, her POVs are just, you feel like you're in somebody's mental breakdown or sphere of dissociativeness. I don't know how to explain this, but it was really good. I've had a lot of people recommend this to me because I do like weird books. It is not my favorite of the 3 Han Kang books I read this month, but it was definitely very, 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 very good. The next one I read is The White Book, which I'm trying to figure out how best to describe. I'll read you the description because I don't know how to describe this. It is a beautiful, lyrical, almost like poetic prose writing exercise using the color white which does not do it any justice. But I will read you what it says on the good old Goodreads. It says, while on a writer's residency, a nameless narrator wanders the twin white worlds of the blank page and snowy Warsaw. The White Book becomes a meditation on the color white, as well as a fictional journey inspired by an older sister who died in her mother's arms a few hours old. The narrator grapples with the tragedy that has haunted her family, and events she colors in stark white breast milk, swaddling bands, the baby's rice cake colored skin, and from here visits all that glows in her memory, from a white dog to sugar cubes. As the writer reckons with the enormity of her sister's death, Han Kang's trademark frank and chilling prose is softened by retrospect, introspection, and a deep sense of resilience and love. The White Book, ultimately a letter from Kang to her sister, offers powerful philosophical and personal psychology on the tenacity and fragility of the human spirit in our attempts to graft new life from the ashes of destruction. It is beautiful. Read it. I need to own all 3 of these books. I don't own them currently, but of everything that I read, this is one of 5 I really need for my collection of books, and the 3 Han Kangs are 3 of them. But the White Book was phenomenal. The next one I did read was Human Acts, which follows several different characters and their experiences with this violent uprising that happened in South Korea. And it is so, you connect with the story so much, and you feel people's pain, and it is just the body horror, the grief, the violence, the uncertainty. It is so moving and beautifully written. It's like, again, you gotta go read it. Han Kang might be one of my new favorite authors from this year, and it was phenomenal, and I'm so excited that I participated in Women in Translation Month so that I could find Han Kang, so that I could read their books and fall in love with a new author. I also read this book, Where the Wild Ladies Are, by Ako Matsuda, which is a collection of short stories that sort of center around or are retellings or reimaginings of old Japanese folklore. They were really interesting. There's a lot of ghosts involved in here. There's a lot of very interesting women, obviously, where the wild ladies are. And it was an interesting story. It's not my favorite collection of short stories, but I really did enjoy it. I think coming off of the Han Kang books did this a little bit of a disservice, but they were very, really interesting short stories. And I sort of enjoyed learning about a little bit of Japanese folklore through this lens of retelling. Ayako Matsuda takes the rich millennial-old tradition of Japanese folktales, shape-shifting wives and foxes, magical trees and wells, and wholly reinvents them, presenting a world in which humans are consoled, guided, challenged, and transformed by the only sometimes visible forces around them. There's a lot of ghosts, and I think that was my favorite part about this, is how much there's this connection between the living and the dead, between the humans in the spirit world and ancestors and guides, how their ancestors may be guiding them through their life. That was really interesting, and I'm glad I read it. It was a good book. I'm not gonna knock it. It was a good book. I'm super excited about this one. I know that I've already talked about it on our podcast. If you don't know, I host a podcast with my friend Naomi, and we have a book club as well, and it's TBR Lowdown. I will leave links to our website down below, and you can follow us on Instagram at TBR Lowdown. Anyway, we come out with new episodes every Monday, I believe. Every Monday we've been really good. Every Monday we've had a podcast out. I think we're on episode 4 now. Anyway, I read The Memory Police by Yoko Agawa. I'm really bad at names. This is a really interesting look at memory and human connectedness and sort of totalitarian power, and it's really interesting. So it's kind of spooky. So basically, there's this unnamed island where there's this police, the memory police, that polices your memory. Wow. Essentially, every so often, things just go missing from our collective memories. They decide birds don't exist. And so then everything having to do with birds has to be erased from the living world on this island, because you can't possibly, how do you erase their memory if you have to obliterate everything that ever existed? But then there are these people that never forget. They remember everything that has ever been forgotten, and they are hunted, they are criminals, they are outlaws. And so it's the story between these three people. You have a woman, and you have a man who never forgets anything, and this other older man who sort of, they all work together to survive on this island and in this world. And it's she starts to uncover things she has forgotten. It is just beautiful and strange and weird and lovely. And this is another one of the ones that I need to own, because I have been eyeing this book for over a year. I've wanted to read this, and I finally did, and it did not disappoint. So if you like weird books that are sort of insular, like you're in this isolated area, there is no escape, give this a try. Jungun Born 1982, which again is translated from Korean. And this, I'm just gonna give you the little blurb at the top here, because I think it really sums up everything perfectly. It said, set in modern day Korea, Jungun Born 1982 mesmerizingly diagnoses the endemic misogyny and institutionalized oppression that is relevant to all of us. I can't talk. This book is heartbreaking in how misogynist it is. It's the things that women, it's like every advancement from the day that Kim Jong is born to the day that this story ends, every advancement that women have, and then every advancement that women get, the amount of steps that get taken backwards at the same time is just heartbreaking. The things that are denied women who are fully capable, the credit that men take for things that women have done, and within the story, it's so true to life. There's so much to identify with here as a modern woman. I'm born in 1983, so obviously I'm not Korean, and our cultures are different, but there are a lot of things that you can pick up on that you're yeah, I feel this, because we have to sometimes work twice as hard as a man to get half the recognition. But it was really, 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 really good. Everybody talks about how good this book is. I do need to own this book. This is the last of the books that I read that I just need to own. And it's just read it. It's super short. You will enjoy it. Yeah. And it's a good look into another culture's patriarchy. I have 2 more books to go. So I read this really short book called Kitchen, which I feel like is actually 2 stories, but I read it because the author's name is Banana. And then I was like, yeah, I'll get a book by somebody named Banana. And it's Banana Yoshimoto. And this is also translated from Japanese, I believe. Japanese, yeah. I don't really know how to explain this. So I'm going to read you the summary so you understand it. It says, Kitchen is an enchantingly original book that juxtaposes 2 tales about mothers, love, tragedy, and the power of the kitchen and home in the lives of a pair of free-spirited young women in contemporary Japan. Mikage, the heroine, is an orphan raised by her grandmother who passed away, grieving. Mikage is taken in by her friend Yoichi and his mother, who is really his cross-dressing father, Eriko. That's right, I forgot there's trans in here, and it's this is there's a lot packed in this little book. As the 3 of them form an improvised family that soon weathers its own tragic losses, Yoshimoto spins a lovely evocative tale with kitchen and the comforts of home at its heart. In a whimsical style that recalls the earlier Marguerite Duras kitchen, its companion, Moonlight Shadows, are elegant tales whose seeming simplicity is the ruse of a very special writer whose voice echoes in the mind of the soul. So it is really beautifully written. There is some trigger wordings about self-harm, suicide. I loved, now that I'm remembering everything, I loved the trans mother. She was amazing and so supportive, but also the things that happen because her, when you're a kid and your mom is actually your dad and is very proud and out about being a trans woman and having to go through whatever negative things that come out of that because children are awful. It was really good and it's really short and moving, and I really did love this. And then there's this book, The Discomfort of Evening. It's translated from Dutch, and I don't know how to scrub this story from my brain. Ostensibly, it's a story about grief, this family that's very religious and sort of isolated and out on this farm. They're like, the dad's a dairy farmer. They lose a child. They have 4 children. One of them dies young. And it's ostensibly a story about grieving over the loss of a child and all of that. And how does everybody grieve? And how does everybody get through anything? And how does that death of a child, of a brother, how does that affect you, right? The things that happen are so... it was so off-putting for me. And I think it was like... It was too raw. It was too, like, over the top. It was too sexualized. It was too graphic. It was... I don't get squeamish about a lot of things, but there were just... The things like there were 2 brothers and 2 sisters, the things that the brother that survived does to, like, his sisters, to other children in the town, the things the father does, how much they gloss over the mother's just, like, mental breakdown. This book... Is it well written? Yes. Is it memorable? Unfortunately. Is it for me? No. This is not my book. I know that it is definitely a book that is loved because I believe it's shortlisted for the Booker Prize, or was the year that it came out. So it definitely garnered a lot of attention, but I kind of wish I'd never read it. So unfortunately, I ended on a low note. I do have one more book that I did borrow from the library, which I'm probably not going to finish until the beginning of September, but I will just show it to you. I also borrowed The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuko Imamura. I'm sorry to everybody whose names I've destroyed in this review of books. And I do really want to read this. It's super short, and it's due like next week. So I will read it, but it probably won't happen till September. So this is a psychological thriller. Yeah, it says best-selling, prize-winning psychological thriller for fans of Convenience Store Woman, the novels of Otessa Mosfed. That's the year of rest and my year of rest and relaxation. That's that author. And the movies Parasite and Rear Window. It's super short, and I guess I could maybe get to it, but I have a bunch of stuff I need to do, including editing this video so it can go out before the end of August. But yeah, this is the last translated work that I'm going to read for Women in Translation Month, but I'm going to read it in September. But I haven't read it yet, so just forget it. Ignore it. Thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully I've gotten you to be interested in reading some translated fiction yourself. I really enjoyed this journey of reading women in translation, and I found some new favorites. I found some new books I want to run away from. But otherwise, everything has been really, 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 really good and kind of weird. And I've learned some things about myself. I learned that I like really weird books. Well, we kind of knew that, but I like really, really, really weird books until you get here, because this isn't weird. This is just wrong. This is wrong. Anyway, I'm babbling now. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, leave down below banana and I will come on and say hello and chat and all of that. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can follow me at Nerdy Nurse Reads. There's some links down below and some discount codes for some of the companies that I rep for and work with. I love them dearly. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. The more you interact with this, the more you share it. It's it helps me out. I would say I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but we are just waffling around 530 and I cannot get any higher. But whatever, I make content because I like it and not for any other reason. So if you like to support the channel in any other ways, there is also a Ko-fi link down below. I am saving up for a camera so I can stop using my gosh darn phone. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. Hopefully you found something new to read, and I will see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building